morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from worldwide. I'm Sterling. It's great to have you back on the channel. This show is being recorded for Sunday, February 25th, 2024. As always, these shows are offered for entertainment purposes only. All the information I share with you comes directly real time through my guides, angels, extended spiritual counsel, ETs, famous people from history, so for entertainment purposes only. For those who need to reach me, just go to sterlingpsychicmedium.com, look for the Book a Session tab. Very straightforward from there. And if you get a chance, just remember to like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. It's all greatly appreciated. As a quick footnote, we have sometimes almost 50,000, 60,000 viewers of these shows, but maybe less than 10,000 likes. We don't charge for these shows. A lot of effort goes in to put them on. We don't even put commercials through a lot of these shows. So there's 1 hour shows. So if you can, it's a great help to the channel if you just remember to like, no charge. And it really does help the back end algorithm. So thanks for your consideration in that area. As always, we pull questions from our community board for these shows. Many times people ask how to get to the community board. It is on our YouTube channel. But we also create a very special fast link if you'd like. You can go to our website, sterlingpsychicmedium.com, look for the YouTube tab. If you open that up, at the very top, we placed a large gold button there that says Community Board that will take you right to the Community Board. And we post requests for questions for these shows every Monday morning Pacific time. And then we shut that down, actually close it out Thursday evening Pacific time. That way my wife has time to go through all the questions. And again, I think there were almost 450 questions this week. And she then goes through them all and brings them down to a total. I think we have like 64. Let me take a look here. 64 questions this week. Tries to kind of determine which would be the most helpful across a large section of global viewers. So anyway, for those looking at the community board, that question comes up all the time. Also, there are no questions that are ever answered through email, so that the office address info@sterlingpsychicmedium.com goes directly to our office team, and we never answer any questions related to spirituality, psychic, anything that should be on a show. We never answer any questions through that email address. That's strictly administrative office address for scheduling and those kinds of things. So hopefully that helps, clears up kind of maybe some of the confusion sometimes. We also run a contest on these shows. Every time we reach a new level of 1,000 subscribers, we give away a free half-hour session. I think right now we're headed towards 46,000 subscribers, only 100 or 200 away, something like that. The way you enter the contest is by placing comments in these shows, starting off with the word love. That's how we know you want to be in the contest. And we actually use a computer app to randomly select the winner from those comments on the exact show where we cross over to 1,000 subscribers. So that's always, people always ask how you enter the contest. Contest is still ongoing every time we reach a new level of 1,000 subscribers. So thanks for all your support. Wonderful interacting. My wife has a lot of good things to say about the wonderful questions going on, and very articulate and well thought out, and really deep questions. They're definitely worth contemplating. So thanks for all the effort and the support of the channel. This is a collective, community effort, if you will. So we're happy to do it. We're happy to be here for you. So with no further ado, let's get going on today's show, starting out with question 64. Sterling and team, was Navalny deliberately taken out, or did he die of natural causes because of all the suffering he went through? My team pretty clearly indicates he was taken out, not given proper medical attention, and there's something going on in between the fingers on his hand. So I'm not going to go any further than that, but there's deliberately taken out and not given proper medical attention. So very unfortunate. We actually did communicate with Alexei Navalny on last week's show. Wonderful guy, wonderful human being. 63. Hello, Sterling and team. Will members of Congress who have accepted Russian money and colluded with Russia to weaken the United States be arrested, charged, and convicted in some way by the federal government? This includes people who were compromised prior to 45 including the 7 members of Congress who traveled to Moscow on July 5th, 2018, and possibly the CPAC meetings the GOP holds in Hungary. I've always seen this, and I still get this, is that within about a year here, so we're actually going to get out into 2025. As we get out towards the middle of 2025, you're going to see a lot of prosecutions starting to take place, a lot of charges, as all this kind of unravels of all the chaos that's been going on regarding offshore individuals compromised by offshore governments. Yeah, absolutely. So give a little bit of time here. A lot of cases involving 45 are going to roll out first, and then you're going to start to see a lot of other individuals that have been compromised and implicated. But you're really out into 2025 for a lot of to start happening. So it's true. 62, Hi Sterling and team. I just read that the SEC, Securities Exchange Commission, just approved a merger between 45 social media parent company and Digital World Acquisition Corporation. How will this go for 45, and will it get him out of his financial trouble? I do see the acquisition going through, and in part, these are the offshore funds I was indicating that are coming into his hands. So I do see this acquisition being approved and going through, and billions of dollars exchanging hands here for some reason. So it's unfortunate, but it's a lot of offshore effort, and I saw this coming a long time ago. 61. Will the Congress provide funding to the Affordable Connectivity Program, ACP? Millions will lose phone services if it ends. The funding ends in April of 2024. Unfortunately, I do see a disruption in the program for a number of months. So whether this is 4, 5, 6 months, I know that this provides some sort of a subsidy of like $30 to $75 for kind of internet services for a lot of individuals that need it. So there's a bit of a disruption in the program, not in the service, but in the payment. I understand, it's very difficult for some people, but it looks like a disruption, and then it's going to kind of get attached to another bill and finally get through. Looks like a lot of this happens within this year here. 60. Greetings, Sterling and team. Federal prosecutors portray FBI informant Alexander Smirnov as a serial liar. Were Bill Barr and Special Prosecutor David Weiss aware of this before the 2020 election? For entertainment purposes only, they were very aware that the individual was compromised and not telling the truth, and the information wasn't vetted. But it looks like a large circle of individuals around these two also were very aware. So it was a collective effort to hide the truth and kind of push forth a lie. Everybody was very aware. 59. Hi, Sterling and team. For the past year or so, right after waking up and before opening my eyes, I've been seeing pictures, usually strings of numbers or symbols, but sometimes recognizable images like today, a flashing thumbs up emoji. Can your team tell me why and what it means? These are all your angels and guides, your team trying to get through to you, trying to communicate, say we're around you. So they're kind of signaling you that's what's going on. If you only just saw numbers and symbols, for example, like with grid lines, a lot of times people that are unfamiliar with the Akashic records will see that as an entrance into like the Akashic records experience. But in your case, this is your angels and guides trying to signal you, say we're around, encouraging you to communicate with them. 58. Greetings, Sterling and team. Michael J. Fox spoke at the BAFTA Awards this week in Europe after arriving on stage in a wheelchair. Do you see him benefiting from CRISPR gene editing technology, or after advancements that may improve his Parkinson's disease, or will it be too late for him? Yes, within a few years, actually, I see Michael J. Fox becoming one of the lead recipients of CRISPR genome editing technology within a few years here. So a lot of big rollout in this area about neurological diseases and problems being assisted by CRISPR. So you look for the next 3 to 4 years here. It looks like Michael J. Fox will actually be one of the individuals that will be in the lead. Remember, everybody has, I'll call it a soapbox in life for a reason. So if you're given a very valuable soapbox, like you're an actor, a singer, politician. A lot of times, given the soapbox, you're supposed to convey important messages to the world. So a lot of times, celebrities, not always, will use their soapbox to try to help others. It looks like as part of the life path for Michael J. Fox, that's part of what his life path is all about. 57. Sterling, what are your guide's thoughts on hoodoo and voodoo people strongly believe in this spiritual work to bring back a lover and spiritual attacks to win or lose a job, court case, or break a marriage? People believe strongly this works. Does it work? And why many cases it seems it did work? So there's no such thing really as directed spiritual attacks or curses or anything like that. We actually all create our own reality. What my team's telling me about, let's say, hoodoo and voodoo is inherently, they start out very spiritual. So a connection to the one source, the one force. I believe that there may be some aberrations, which is, outliers, if you will, maybe individuals that are not practicing aligned with true spirituality, but there are no things as curses or ways of creating spiritual attacks. Really, this really is more of a discussion about how we manifest and how clearly you manifest. So, for example, if somebody told you something, regardless of where it came from, and you believe it and you help really manifest that in your life, you'll create that reality. So that's really the key as to where all this works. So my team's saying that in terms of spiritual attacks and curses and what do they say? Lose a job, court case. It really all has to do with the inherent discussion here is about how well you manifest. 56. Is it true that people will have to choose between living in 3D or 5D? This question comes up all the time. If the D this person's asking about is what they call density, which is energetic level, I'll explain that in a second here. If they're referring to D as dimension, has no relevance here. And I've talked about this a lot, but we're living in a 3D world, three-dimensional world. The fourth dimension is time, and the fifth dimension is an environment where everything moves faster than the speed of light. It's all about the theory of relativity that Einstein spent a lot of time on. But density has to do with energetic levels. So no one's going to have to choose. This is an evolution. It's a progression. Just like when you're in school, some individuals, take more classes than not. They accelerate through their education. So in a sense, it's a progressive choice. It's a progression of how you kind of raise your energetic level. And a lot of people try to assign names to it like third density, fourth density, fifth density. As you get up towards fifth density, that is where people become much more spiritual. The veil is thinner. If you're a psychic medium, you communicate much easier. So all that's true. So I don't want to get too far afield but if you're referring to D, it really is a progression, how you live your life, how you align with your life path, that all these things are very important. 55, can you channel people from the future? Well, yes, it's actually very simple, just going to the Akashic records, because not only the information is there, but individuals that are connected with the future are there too. So remember, all this relates back to the Akashic records. Now, also extraterrestrials, they travel across a lot of dimensions. And on the other side, time is nonlinear, so you can go forward and backward in time. So interesting enough, a lot of extraterrestrials can bring back information from the future very easily. I don't see many Homo sapiens coming back from the future, even the spiritual realm talking about the future, but I have seen a lot of extraterrestrials and a lot of individuals connected with the Akashic records on the other side. So in that sense, you can channel information and individuals, yes, from the future. 54, hi, Sterling and team. Our government says we have no money for universal health care and other programs, yet give billions to other countries for war. On top of that, Netanyahu has been defiant towards Biden, yet Biden still gives billions to Israel. Does Israel have something on Biden and America? No, I don't get that. Look, there's a lot of politics involved here, but in terms of the money situation, I think there's something like $300 billion going towards the Middle East right now, which is less than 1% of the U.S. budget. If you consider the U.S. budget is anywhere sometimes between $4 trillion to $7 trillion, that's a very minor element. So it's a small fraction. So I don't see our current government being held hostage in terms of, how they're giving money. We're really trying to create an ally in that area of the world. I know there's a lot of politics involved, believe me, and there's a horrible atrocities being executed over there. But it's not because somebody's hanging something over our current government. These are very complex political and humanitarian discussions. But it's not, this person asks on top of Netanyahu. Yeah. So two very separate topics again. And sometimes people ask, like, why isn't the money going towards healthcare, like universal healthcare? And that can be as much as $4 trillion a year over a 10-year period. That's $40 trillion. Some people say, why are we, spending money overseas or for wars and not investing in universal healthcare, single payer system? So, lot of elements, a lot of moving parts to this discussion. But again, I don't see that our administration's being held hostage in any way by Netanyahu. Netanyahu will most likely, for entertainment purposes only, be replaced towards the latter part of this year. You can start to look for that happen about the middle of the year, and then towards the latter part of the year, it looks like he's out. And this coincides with what I saw last year at this time, or even earlier, that Netanyahu would be there for at least another year before he finally, got replaced. 53. How soon will Evan Dershkovich, Wall Street Journal reporter being held in Russia, be released? Unfortunately, this looks like a longer term situation to me, and this could play out over a good 3 to 4 years of trials and then some sort of a negotiation with Russia. It looks like it's going to take a number of years to play out here to me. I wish it was going to go faster, but my team saying it looks like it's going to be kind of a long term process here. 52. Hello, Sterling and team. In my lifetime, I've experienced random times of knowing who is calling before picking up the phone, landline days, having strong gut feelings of knowing what an outcome will be. And most recently at work, I experienced a burst of cognitive clarity. I'm not sure how else to explain all of this, but it was a pleasantly odd sensation. How do I, or others who might also experience this, learn how to tap into whatever is happening? Well, these are simply your guides and angels working with you at a very intuitive level, what I call a very precognitive level. Everything always starts with the baseline of learning how to communicate real time with your angelic team. There's various techniques for that. There are people you can study with, but everybody can learn how to communicate real time with their team. And, in a very baseline sense, once you're communicating real time with your angelic team, your birth angels, your working spiritual guides, they feed you that information from the other side. So that's a talent. You actually have a precognitive talent, and you can develop that. Absolutely. Okay, 51, the countdown. Hello, Sterling and team. When you say our passed on loved ones can look down and see us on the earthly plane, are they seeing our human body or our spirit self that inhabits our human body? In many cases, they're seeing exactly what you look like down here on Earth. It's like analogous to watching a movie. So they're seeing your human form. They can also see your spiritual form, your soul. It's like looking at a QR code. They can see everything that you're about, like your spiritual DNA. But they're looking at you in the human form, much like looking at a movie. 50. Sterling, the Zaporizhia, right? Okay, Zaporizhia nuclear power station, Ukraine, announced reactors are damaged and a big risk of catastrophe is likely to go all the way to Istanbul, making half of Europe uninhabitable for 100 years. Can you please read on it if this will happen? I don't see this happening. I do see, and I think this has even been around the news, all 6 reactors in that location are what they call cold shutdown. I do not see, it looks like eventually here within months, could be towards the end of the year, we're going to see Ukraine have control of that nuclear power plant again. But I do not see them spinning out of control, going into nuclear meltdown mode. They're all in cold shutdown right now, all 6 reactors. I do not, my team is saying, do not see that becoming a catastrophic event. No. 49, Hi Sterling and team. On February 8th, 2024, there was a rare 4.0 magnitude earthquake recorded off the coast of Florida. I have lived here in Florida for over 60 years, and I've never heard of earthquakes that are off the coast of Florida. Is this an isolated occurrence, or is this a trend? I think that earthquake was like 100 miles off the coast of Florida, something like that. And what I get from my team is that there's actually been a number of earthquakes over decades. So not really that rare an occurrence, but over decades in the Gulf area and off the coast, off the east coast of Florida. So not a rare occurrence, ongoing, a lot of earthquake activity worldwide, circling around the ring of fire, the string of volcanoes. And this is causing a lot of resettling of the earth. So not that I understand whoever asked this question said they hadn't heard of it for 60 years. My team is saying there's even been some Gulf area earthquakes that have propagated and then caused things happening on the East Coast of Florida. Yeah, so this is going to be ongoing, I'm sorry to say, for a lot of us, for a lot of the world. Not that rare. 48. Hello, Sterling and team. My nephew turned schizophrenic last year. It's like he's gone. Why do people become schizophrenic as an adult? Someday, will there be a treatment of helping schizophrenics to realize that they are ill and then eventually curing and reversing schizophrenia? I'm not a doctor. I always have to say that, but there's a lot of neurological advances, neurological disease advances happening right now with CRISPR gene editing. I know it's a controversial topic, but they're doing some testing on mice right now in order to establish some of these drugs and vaccines. And there's something coming up here within roughly about 5 years that's really going to start to help this. But looks like to me, it's what the advances they make around like Alzheimer's patients and those kinds of neurological problems that then lead to other solutions for like schizophrenia. So you can look for the start of some of the medications rolling out about 5 years, but in roughly 8 to 10 years, you're going to see advances for medication. And I think this person's all asking why this happened. There are no accidents in our lives. We actually put everything on our life path as part of our blueprint. And when you get to the other side, you'll see that when you're actually able to lay out your blueprint, it's like a scroll hundreds of feet long. You actually be able to see every day of your life, every week, every month, and identify, oh, that's what happened when I was 12. Oh, that's what happened when I was 26. You'll actually see how it was all laid out in a very methodical way. Yeah. 47. Hi, Sterling. When I am at my girlfriend's house, we both hear a thump at the front door. I've heard this several times, and I can't tell if it's the house settling or a spirit trying to get our attention. I get, oddly enough, this is some sort of an animal. So not spiritual, not paranormal, but it looks like some sort of an animal that's interacting there. So this could be a bird, some sort of maybe a four-legged animal, something going on there. But my team's saying it's animal related. 46. Hello, Sterling. Years ago, I was on a crowded bus on the way home from work when I noticed a younger man sitting in front of me. There was something odd about him. He always looked straight ahead, never moving his head. His skin was a strange pale white. A few minutes later, I looked at him again for some reason and was horrified to see he had two symmetrical rows of bumps running from his hand up his arms. He wore a short-sleeved shirt. It reminded me of a lizard. I quickly moved through the crowd to get away from him and got off 2 stops later. After I got off the bus, I looked back at him through the window. He turned his head and looked right at me. I was terrified. I couldn't understand how he could turn his head to look at me with the bus packed like sardines. What or who was he, and what really happened there? This appears to be what is called a hybrid. So this is not a full Homo sapiens sapiens, it's a hybrid. What's interesting about hybrids is that they're a mix of extraterrestrial DNA and Homo sapien DNA, and they're highly intuitive, highly perceptive. So this individual noticed that you were, that somehow he got your attention, and that's why he turned around to look. So, yeah, this is what they call a hybrid. Lots of hybrids on the planet right now. 45. Barbara Jones is a retired judge overseeing 45's New York business, who is now given the power to decide what will become of 45's ability to do business in New York. Will she revoke their ability to operate? Will this apply to Don Sr., Don Jr., Eric, and Ivanka? I believe she's already stopped the ability to do business for, I think it's 3 years for 45 and then 2 years for the sons. So yeah, that's going to happen. I guess the question is, will she revoke? So I don't see a permanent revoking, but certainly a number of years here. I think that's what the question is all about here. Yeah. So I don't know. This is actually part of this was in the news. So I don't see an extension. If that my team's saying right now, I don't see an extension beyond the 2 or 3 year mandates of stopping them to run a business in New York. It looks like then it's going to come back around, and 45 and his family will be able to operate business in New York. It's unfortunate, but that looks like how it's going to roll out. 44, hi Sterling. Can someone be used to convey a message from a deceased loved one without being a medium? Yes, this happens all the time. So many times, let's say you have a best friend and you have just lost somebody, a loved one. You may be shrouded in grief and depression, anxiety. Really shut yourself down from the spiritual side. A loved one that you had may try to then reach out to your best friend and signal them with some sort of a message, like maybe your loved one always used a funny term or a funny expression, and they'll pass that along to a friend, and your friend will just say that out of the blue. That's your loved one on the other side trying to pass a message along to your friend, so it kind of digs you out of depression, let them know you're still around. I see it happening all the time. It can actually happen in greater detail, where your loved one can pass along even a longer message, like don't be stressed out, that new job you want is coming, at the end of the year. You'll actually get varying degrees of communication from your loved ones through a friend or somebody close to you. By the way, my teams remind me it can also be somebody random. So it might be somebody you might be going through the checkout line at a supermarket. You don't know the checker, for example, and they may say something very unusual to you that's exactly the way your loved one would say something. There again, that they're being used to try to say, I'm okay, I'm getting you a message. 43, what will happen with the lawsuits Hunter Biden's lawyers just filed? Will his case be dropped? Yeah, I see the bribery case being dropped, but not the other two cases. I think it was there was a separate gun charge and tax charges. So those will still go on going. It looks like the bribery charge will be dropped. I think that's what this person's asking about here. 42, hi Sterling. Putin has just announced some new cancer prevention vaccine that he says Russia has developed. Is it true? I get it is, but I get it's focused on a particular area like skin melanoma, which is very deadly. But I don't get the breakthrough vaccine relates to things like pancreatic cancer or breast cancer or lung cancer. Those developments are actually happening in other areas of the world using gene editing technology. And we've already seen CRISPR being used to reverse sickle cell anemia and a case of pancreatic cancer in the UK. But anyway, in terms of this question, I'm getting that Russia has developed a vaccine, and it looks like it's highly targeted to skin melanoma to me. 41. I adopted a 12-year-old blind Yorkie Terrier mix about 1 month ago. He has a retching type cough that lasts for quite a while. The SPCA said his lungs are clear and don't think anything is wrong with him. It upsets him when he starts doing it. Is there anything I can do to help him? I'm not a doctor or a vet, but I will tell you my team is saying this is something environmental. So it's an allergic reaction he's having to something going on environmental. So that could be carpet cleaner, cleaners used in the home, fertilizer outside where the dog's walking through it, getting their paws. So my recommendation here, according to my team, look for replacing a lot of the chemicals, carpet cleaners with organic substances. And if he goes outside, make sure you wash their paws off more frequently, rinse them off with water or something. So I'm just getting, this is an allergic reaction. 40, can extraterrestrials prevent Putin from sending a nuclear weapon or a nuclear powered weapon into space to disrupt satellites? Yes. So a couple things here. Russia and the US already have nuclear powered payload satellites in space, and some are capable of destroying other satellites. It's been ongoing for a long time. I know it just came up in the news, been ongoing for a long time. ETs definitely stop major nuclear events in space as well as here on the ground that would, cause the destruction of humanity. But in space, if you look for even last year, there was a destruction in 2003, a Russian, was it Luna 25 was a space vehicle that crash landed on the moon. but extraterrestrials stepped in to make sure that nuclear payload was safe. So yeah, they do get involved when it's a highly destructive element happening, but these nuclear powered satellites and satellites with nuclear payloads that can be destructive, they've been around for a while here. Yeah. 39. Hi, Sterling. Thank you for your time and energy and sharing your gift with us. What can you tell us about the Shroud of Turin? I realize it is not an outline of Jesus, but it's a real person. If so, is this an elaborate fake that was created in the Middle Ages? It's a real human shroud. What I'm getting is uh, it doesn't even track from AD up AD in time up through 100 AD. So this has got the wrong time frame. Even when they do like a DNA analysis, it looks like there's human DNA there and plant DNA, but does not look like it's anything that's related to Jesus. Um, I don't know if this is necessarily a fake. It looks like it really was a shroud of some kind, but not the one that they're identifying with Jesus. My team saying like not even close to the time frame is when Jesus lived. 38. Sterling, will we in the northern hemisphere experience a mini ice age over the coming 50 to 100 years in response to losing the climactic ocean conveyor called the Atlantic meridional overturning circulation, AMOC. That is the action of the ocean temperatures, salinity, and water movements that temper our climates all over the planet. No, no, that actually, I think a lot of people are really concerned about a mini ice age to say meteor or solar flares or something happening with the sun, plus these ocean currents. I still see there's the AMOC currents, yeah. They're actually helping in this part of the world, let's say the Western Hemisphere, they're helping with Gulf Stream currents. And so it's going to be minimized, but it's not going to stop completely. And there would have to be something materially happen in a big way with the sun in order to also create like a mini ice age. So my team's saying no, like all the factors will not be there that were in prior history to create an ice age, not even a mini ice age. So my team keeps talking about not just these ocean currents, but Gulf Stream currents still continuing, and the sun is not going to have a disastrous event that then would encourage an ice age. So a lot of moving parts on this question, but not a mini ice age coming. No, and nothing related directly to what they called get the term here AMOC, right? 37. Hi, Sterling and guys. Now that the 45s organization businesses were found guilty of financial fraud, will the stockholders of the banks involved in providing 45's loans be suing their banks because the bank officer's failure to conduct the necessary due diligence regarding 45's financials? No, I don't see this happening at a large scale, although, a logical sense would tell you it might make sense for stockholders to do that, but I don't see that happening at any large scale. Could be a couple of isolated cases, but nothing on a large scale happening. Okay, 36 in the countdown. Hi, Sterling. Have any present day humans lived a past life as a Neanderthal? Yes, I get 1 to 2% of individuals that were alive at the time. Something about Homo sapiens sapiens, Neanderthals coexisting at one time, 1 to 2% of the population, some sort of a mix there. But looks like a very small percentage of individuals did have a prior life as Neanderthals. And then, in fact, it looks like even some DNA correlation with Homo sapiens sapiens for a very small percentage of the population. So my team's saying yes, there's some sort of a crossover there. 35. Are extraterrestrials vegetarian? What does your team say about humans eating animals? Are we supposed to be vegan or vegetarian? Well, both animals and plants are energetic beings. That may surprise people, but everything that is on the planet has a consciousness. So remember, a lot of extraterrestrials have evolved to the extent there's a lot of what I'll call lab-grown proteins, meats, those kinds of things, and really humanity is going to move that direction. So there won't be a need to be eating a lot of plants necessarily, or animals. It'll a lot being lab grown. But what was the question here? Are vegetarians say about eating animals? Well, yeah, it's an evolution here. So as humanity evolves, there will be less of a need to eat human animals. There'll be more lab-grown proteins, just like extraterrestrials. They don't rely on eating animals. 34. Will 45's daughter-in-law, Lara Trump, receive the RNC leadership position? Boy, it looks like it's a crazy decision, but it looks like they will try to move her in that position. It looks to me like there's some movement there into that position. Yeah. 33. Sterling and team, I'm wondering about 45's desperation now that he may need to liquidate assets, including that of top secret variety. Is he more dangerous now than he was in the White House? Is he likely to sell anything that could make anyone less safe? Well, yes. I mean, for entertainment purposes only, he's already put together deals that are somewhat destructive with offshore entities, and it's an ongoing issue, and it's going to be uncovered, but it's an ongoing issue. And I think the question is he more dangerous? Well, some of those deals are already in place. So I don't know about more or less dangerous. It's kind of a continuation of a lot of very dangerous behavior, but those deals are already in place. Yeah. 32, have extraterrestrials communicated with governments on Earth in the past? And are they in communication with governments presently? Yes, absolutely. There's more than a dozen extraterrestrial species already communicating with world governments in a variety of areas around world peace, free energy, health, science, breakthroughs, many, many different areas, including military technology, aircraft technology, propulsion technology. Very true. And they have been for centuries and centuries, so this is ongoing, and this will all be part of what is actually revealed within a few short years here. 31. Do you see Yulia Navalny's life in danger? Well, it's an ongoing danger for her, but I see her prevailing. So I don't see her losing her life, but I do see it's an ongoing danger. And it looks like she's going to not get involved with what I'll call risky behavior, going to areas of the world where she knows there's going to be a very high probability that she would be arrested or put in prison. So it looks like my team's saying she'll prevail. She definitely has to be cautious. I see her traveling with a security detail from now on. So I'm not sure all that's working out, but it looks like security detail. 30. I know we can reincarnate in different nationalities and different genders, but do we tend to come back with similar features such as large eyes, maybe a narrow nose, and high cheekbones? The reason I ask is people seem to track themselves to a past life and find out they look similar in this lifetime. No, this is actually not necessarily the case at all. You can make that selection. It's free will. Some people may do that, but by and large, it's not a normal occurrence at all. A lot of individuals come back with all different sorts of cosmetic features or whatever they think will complement them in that life, but not necessarily a fait accompli that you come back every time with the same kinds of features. And I know why people ask that question. My team just reminding me, because sometimes people will look back at somebody maybe 100 years ago and say, gee, I look exactly like that person or something of that nature. 29. Hi, Sterling. Over a 50-year time period, whenever I visit psychics for readings, they told me that I'm a psychic and should be doing what they do. I have never felt psychic, and frankly, it scares me because I don't want to see negative or horrible things happening to people. One lady even told me that if I don't serve, I will suffer. How do I know if I have the gift? Well, first off, we all have the gift at birth. We're all given psychic mediumship ability to a greater or lesser extent at birth. So you can develop it. No, you won't be punished if you don't use the gift. That's a free will decision. I'm trying all these questions here of horrible. I don't want horrible things to happen. She's saying they scare me. Or no, if you start doing the work, quick protective prayers, standing in supreme protective white light, very simple protective prayers, they keep prankster spirits away from things you aren't meant to see. Remember, if you're meant to help people in a certain way, you'll be provided with the guidance from your angelic team with that information. So, for example, if you're not supposed to help, let's say, for example, with Holocaust survivors or people on the other side, that won't be part of your life path. You're given that which you're able to help with. So a lot has to do with being comfortable and trusting in spirit and the one source, the one force, working with your angelic team. Nobody's forced to do the work. Everybody has the gift. And it's almost like if you feel like you're compelled or you have a calling to do it, you should certainly investigate it. But I think there's way too much fear going on here, and certainly what you were told by these people where create a fear in you, which is not justifiable. Meaning, you're actually able to develop the tools you need to be able to guide yourself through that work if you choose to do it. 28. As a child, I cried when I found out meat was really from animals. In my 30s, I was working at a small furniture shop when a very tall person with long golden hair and long golden eyelashes came in to ask if I would allow a group waiting in a van down the street to wash the windows. I gave this person the $7 price we paid for window washing, but then they said they did not. Then I said they did not have to wash the windows, just keep the $7. The person said they wanted to buy baked potatoes as they did not eat meat because they want to be able to look a cow in the eye. Later, there was a note on my home door about a new vegan cafe in the neighborhood. I have been a vegan since that day, now over 30 years. Who was this tall being that visited me at the furniture shop? This was an individual on your life path. It was almost like what they call a road sign in order to get you to kind of stand up, take notice. And it was kind of an indicator. You put that individual actually on your life path. We put a lot of these things on our life path. That individual had many other things that they were supposed to accomplish, but that interaction was what I call a signpost along the way to remind you of what you intended to do on your life path. In this case, becoming vegan. 27, Sterling, is it possible to be so closely entwined with another person that you feel what he or she feels? My husband has stage 4 colon cancer. It seems when symptoms emerge from his disease, I get reverberations of his symptoms. For example, when he's fatigued, I'm fatigued. When he has gastrointestinal issues, I get them too. Muscle aches, bloody nose, etc. Is this psychosomatic on my part, or am I really feeling a bit of his pain? You're actually extremely connected with these individuals. Not uncommon. We all have soulmates. We have many soulmates that go through life. Some soulmates you're extremely connected with. And so in this case, you've actually lived about 5 different lifetimes with this individual. You're extremely connected, not psychosomatic. You're actually taken in that person's energy. So absolutely, this is something you have a very direct feeling, a very vested feeling in the individual. 5 lifetimes. This is the 5th lifetime. And so that owes to the fact of why you feel and you get it kind of at the same time this individual has those feelings. 26, hi Sterling, when a loved one passes, can they tell who is more spiritually attuned or where they are in their understanding of spiritual matters? Yeah, on the other side, it's all very easy to see who's more spiritually attuned. You almost think about it in terms of like the brilliance of a light. Now, they still see you as a human being, but a lot of times you think about things like aura photography. You can see auras around people. On the other side, you can see not just auras, but let's say something that's highly connected will actually show a very large beam of light going up into the sky. Almost like a flashlight. Think about the light at the top of the Luxor Resort in Las Vegas. So on the other side, you can see who's connected, who's plugged in, what they're thinking about, how evolved they are. You can. And so that makes it, if they're more highly evolved, makes it easier for them to communicate with you. Absolutely. Like a good cell phone connection. 25, dear Sterling and team, on 4 different occasions, my friend has captured unusually bright objects in the sky in, looks like Xenia, Ohio, close to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. He uses binoculars and his camera to photograph them. After zooming in, he discovers that they are not circles as they appear with the naked eye, but are in various shapes with array of lights coming from some part of them. They don't appear to be moving, but hang in the sky and are not defined as planets or stars. What is he seeing? Why are they there? These are extraterrestrial and military ships using what's called anti-gravity propulsion systems. Now, anti-gravity propulsion systems cause a blurriness around the object, but there's testing or shuttling going on. That's why you're seeing those objects. So it's very common in the night sky to see these things. I think that they say using binoculars or a camera, binoculars and its camera. Many cameras are sensitive to infrared, and the human eye is not sensitive to infrared, can't see infrared. But it's easy with a lot of camera, iPhones and certain types of binoculars, infrared, nighttime, night vision binoculars to see infrared. That's why you're seeing the extra level of detail. So very common. And you can go around many areas around Mount Shasta or parts of Sedona with iPhones or infrared cameras, and you can really get a real show. 24. Lately, many channels and psychics have predicted that our tiny country, Estonia, will be invaded and destroyed by Russia in 2026. Also, that other Baltic countries are in great danger. What future does your angelic team and you see for Estonia in the next few decades? Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, Baltic countries. No, and it looks like they're all part of NATO to me. So no, I don't see a destruction. Obviously, they're all bordering Russia. I see threats from Russia, but it does not look like they say the Etoni. I'm sorry, they say countries will be invaded or destroyed by Russia. No, I don't see that. I do see. I'm gonna call it like stray gunfire, stray rockets. There are things going on here, but looks like there's a big NATO support, NATO presence. I don't see a takeover, destruction with these countries. So my team's saying that that's actually not the case. No. Okay, 23 in the countdown. As of today, President's Day. So I guess this question was asked a while back. 25 Democrats and 23 Republicans have announced they will not seek reelection. Unfortunately, on the Republican side, it is the moderate who are going. Can you guys tell us the outcome of this shakeup? I believe there's something like 14 House members or something that are trying to run for Senate. Look, it looks to me like when all the dust settles after the 2024 election, there'll be a slight majority of Democrats in both the House and the Senate. So I do see a real shuffling of the deck here, but it looks like when the dust settles, and it looks like a number of individuals that are leaving the House, say some Democrats, are running for Senate, and they're going to get those positions. So a lot of moving parts here, but it looks like when all the dust settles, there will be a majority in the House and the Senate for Democrats. 22. Hello, Sterling. I have heard two separate quantum healing hypnosis technique sessions. Says I have heard two separate, maybe they're saying they have been in two separate quantum healing hypnosis technique sessions, stating there was an alien invasion in 1994 and other ETs had to intervene on our behalf. And at the end, the world's memories were wiped clean and they took us back to 1 second before the invasion. Have you heard anything about this? My team's saying there's no such event that took place in 1994. No. It's interesting in some of these sessions, imaginations can run wild. That is referring to some of these quantum healing hypnosis technique sessions. Certainly not the case in all of them. But depending on the individual's experience, how grounded they are, a lot of imagination can come into these sessions. This is not the case. My team's saying nothing of this nature happened. No. Okay, 21 the countdown. I was wondering why we as humans can't see across the veil. Some, such as yourselves, say they can, and some just discuss it with their spiritual guides. But I wonder why we as average humans can actually see into heaven. Actually, everyone's born with the ability to be a psychic medium. Some have it to a greater or lesser extent. That not everybody's meant to have the ability or to utilize it to help others on their path. Now, we talked earlier in the show regarding third density, fourth density, fifth density. As you get towards the higher energetic levels, that's when the veil will become very thin, meaning many individuals will be able to see across much more easily to the heaven dimension that's moving faster than the speed of light. So there's evolution in humanity here. That's when telepathic communications will be much more easy. Individuals will be able to see across the veil, see loved ones. Um, if you're not prepared to utilize the gift, it can be rather scary. So I think that's why a lot of people haven't come down here with the gift fully developed, fully, there's always life lessons we're learning down here. And sometimes that ability can get in the way of certain life lessons you're supposed to learn. Remember, everybody comes down here with a different level of reincarnations. So it's a complex topic. Everybody is born with a psychic mediumship gift that they can develop, some to a greater or lesser extent. And as we get through the 3-decade reset, 2020 to 2050, you're actually going to get to a point where a lot more people will be able to see across the veil. So a little bit of inherent experience, life path, where we are in the history of humanity, and where we're going now across this 3-decade reset. So a lot of factors here, but eventually everyone's going to have some portion of this ability to be able to see across the veil. 20, hi Sterling, can you please read if SCOTUS, the Supreme Court, will delay their decision by issuing a stay or hearing the case on 45's absolute immunity claim? It appears there may be a brief stay, and I say brief means days or something, and then it's going to get pushed back down to a lower court saying it was a conclusive ruling or something like that. Meaning, my teacher remind, meaning that 45 will not be given immunity, presidential immunity. 19, in the Australian bush, we have Egyptian hieroglyphics called the Gosford glyphs, which are a mystery. Apparently, in the past, Egyptians came to Australia and exchanged items with the Aboriginal people. Is this true? What can you tell us about these Egyptian carvings in the rock? They're all real. It's not a hoax, not a hoax. And it looks like Egyptians were in that part of the world, along with extraterrestrials conveying information. So it's all true, not a hoax, is what I'm being told. I think that was really the big question. Yeah, the hoax. Yeah. The messages were something about instructions about how to guard against, save humanity. So they were benevolent, loving messages, but it's all true. Okay, 18 in the countdown. With Russia, China, and Iran teaming up to try and take down the US and all of Western society, do you see them succeeding and following that controlling most things in the world? No, I don't, but a lot of difficulty with those groups, those countries for like the next 1 to 2 decades here, and that's going to start to calm down, be more of a balance in the world. So we have a number of battles and major conflicts, things going on worldwide over a good 2-decade period here going forward. But then it looks like the other world's powers become much stronger and able to keep those countries in check. There's more of a balance that's achieved in the world. So there's a process we're going through, but they're not going to take out all of Western society, for example, if that's the question here, or they'll be ruling the world. The balance will come to the world, but got about a good 2-decade period here as it starts to happen. A lot of it happens due to extraterrestrial involvement, trying to manage the world affairs, lead the world, lead humanity towards world peace, healthcare, free energy. So don't minimize the fact or discount the fact a lot of extraterrestrial intervention in front of people here. Next couple of years, it's going to start. Will really start to change the way the world works. 17, my teenage grandson is being bullied in school because of his stutter. He has spent numerous years in speech therapy to no avail. Will there ever be a cure for stuttering? There will be. I'm seeing that there's an emotional component and a medical component here. Good advances, I think, I mean, made around the emotional component. And then there's something here coming up around the medical component. Again, here within about roughly 5 years, starting with CRISPR technology. But it's interesting. It looks like here again, I know it's controversial, but they're already doing experiments right now with mice around some of these areas. to understand neurological function and how it works with speech. I understand that sounds very counterintuitive with mice, but it looks like what they're learning neurologically with mice is going to help lead that direction as utilization of CRISPR technology. So it's all coming. Mm-hmm. And my team saying they're going to start off with a focus on childhood as they're working through some of the cures, if you will, for stuttering, and then they're going to move more into helping adults with it. So that's interesting. My team was just saying start more with like childhood issues and then move more into adulthood. 15, dear Sterling, when answering questions, have your guides ever told you something that in the name of national security or the safety of anyone involved you couldn't share? Yes, absolutely. I'm very careful with the information that's received. For example, anyone that's doing psychic mediumship work, if you receive very critical information in the world, you're not allowed to change world events. So if it's something on the life path of the world as part of Gaia, you're never allowed to change it. So you have to be very careful with the way information comes through. The reason information comes through that's shared with the world is supposed to keep the world on a certain path, put up some guardrails of understanding so people can see the roadway, the path forward. You're never allowed to change world events. The universe does not work that way. 14. Does your team see CRISPR technology being developed to treat or even cure, looks like ankylosing spondylitis or uveitis? Sorry if I'm mispronouncing all of that. Akylossing. I was like ankylosing spondylitis, or uveitis. So, when do they see treatment or cure being available to the masses, like the working class? Not a doctor, but this appears to be related to inflammations in the body around the eye and spine. I'm not a doctor, but yeah, it looks like big progress. You're going to hear me say this a lot. Over the next 5 years here, right now, big progress in these areas, and then vaccines, medications being released in roughly 10 years from now. The development of really CRISPR technology, gene editing technology, was delivered by extraterrestrials to a lot of hundreds of companies. That's where it came from. The initial ideas and the ways to do it in science. But in the next 5 to 10 years here is we're going to see the biggest explosion of cures that have been developed with gene editing technology. So whoever's asking this question, again, not a doctor, but it looks like the cures will start to help with inflammation around these areas, and then it'll move towards what I call a cure. 13. Sterling, I'm gay in this life and had a past life regression where I was gay in that prior lifetime as well. Is sexual orientation something that tends to be consistent from lifetime to lifetime? No, sexual orientation is not consistent. It's really it's all based on the life lessons you came down here to want to experience or learn. So if there's something that's important with you about learning something related to that sexual orientation, you'll come down and repeat it or do it again or more extensively. For example, somebody may come down with, let's say, a gay lifetime or lifeline, experience a lot of trauma, and then in a subsequent lifetime come down again, but now based on their soul's DNA, their soul's experience, now they become a leader in society or into government to help with rights in that area, LGBTQ plus rights. So it's not always inherent that you do it lifetime after lifetime. It really is a free will selection of how you lay out your life path. 12. Hi, Sterling and team. What is the difference between spirit guides and ascended masters? Are animals in the realm part of spirit guides? Animals are part of the angelic realm. They're never your guides, although some guides will show themselves as spirit animals. I see that happen. That's based on the person they're trying to communicate with. So some people might be more comfortable dealing with their guides if they're showing themselves as a spirit animal. They're still your guide. Guides walked the planet many times thousands of years ago. They've risen through a long period of reincarnations to become experienced, to become guides. And the question is, what's between spirit guides and ascended masters? Ascended masters are very close to the angelic realm. They came down to Earth. They actually walked Earth in many cases, but they're highly evolved before they came down in order to kind of help humanity at the start. Angels always start out in the angelic realm. Typically, angels do not come down to earth. Ascended masters are closely aligned in the angelic realm with angels, but they're not angels. They come down with a big head start, highly evolved. So I think that's everything they're asking here about in terms between spirit guides, ascended masters, or animals. I think we covered all that. But there, here again, animals are never your spiritual guides. Even though animals are part of the angelic realm, come down to earth to help you learn lessons. And the only difference is there, some people like comfortable with their guides showing themselves as spiritual animals. They're still your guides. 11. Hi, Sterling and team. I'm worried about my country. I'm writing to you from Italy. The government now in power is doing a lot of damage. Do you see a big change? Was it Giorgia Meloni? I think is the prime minister of Italy right now. Yeah, unfortunately, it looks like she's going to be in power for like another 2 years. It looks like she gets replaced before her term. I don't remember if she went in 2022 or what it was. And I know that the prime minister term in Italy is longer than the US, so maybe like 7 years, but it doesn't look like she's going to be in for the whole 7 year term. So it looks to me like long before you get to 2029, for example, that she'll be replaced. Looks like she'll be replaced within about 2 years. Not an expert on politics in Italy, but my team's saying it looks like the other 2 years looks like she'll be replaced. So a little bit of a rough ride for a couple of years here. 10, love your show, Sterling and team. Can the Akashic records heal people, or is it just a placeholder of all knowledge? Would the gatekeepers of the records share information that can help us heal our physical body? Well, the Akashic records does not exist to heal people. It's a repository of all information in the universe for all things past, present, and future. Yes, individuals, guides, angels, ascended masters can all access information in the Akashic records that can help be used to help put people on their path, to help heal. It really is a big consortium of a lot of knowledge in the universe, all the knowledge of the universe. And then the way that knowledge is used by psychics, mediums, individuals, your family members, doctors, lawyers, those are all ways in which we interact on our life path. So I think that answered the question. It's a direct repository of all the information in the universe. And then the individuals, how you access that information determines what the effect is and how you use it. 9, Sterling, GOP lawmakers plan to try and change election laws in Arizona so voter intimidation is not illegal or not prosecutable. Will several other states with GOP legislations try to follow suit? Will these plans come to fruition, or will more light be shed on this problem, and will it be stopped? Unfortunately, it looks like several more states, like half a dozen states, are going to try to adopt the same laws as Arizona. But it looks like they'll be stopped and overturned, or they'll get the laws off the books as we cross out into 2025. So as everything kind of reshuffles the deck after the 2024 election, it'll get reshuffled. I understand that this is a problem leading into the election for 2024. But my team's saying it's actually going to get, turned back in 2025. But at least a half a dozen states, another 6, it looks like, are going to try to follow what Arizona is doing. Number 8 in the countdown. My question is about Canada's leader of the opposition party, Pierre Poilievre, I think it is. How do you and your guide see his outcome as a contender for prime minister in the next election? Well, unfortunately, and it looks like by a very close margin, he's going to make it in as the next prime minister. I know this is not what a lot of people want to hear, but it looks like he is going to eke out some sort of a victory here. It's almost like what the U.S. is going through with 45 in that position. Be a bit of a rough time in Canada, just the way it was with 45 here in the U.S. So anyway, that's what my team's telling me. 7, hello, Sterling and team. My question is, with Elon Musk's Neuralink brain implant and other devices in the future, will there be a need for public education, when someone could just link up to a computer. Education will always be required. So, just with the access to all the information does not mean you have the skill. So, for example, if a teenager has all the information accessible for doing brain surgery, doesn't mean they're going to have the skill to do it. You're really going to need an educational component to learn the skill, learn what it all means, um, to actually develop what I call, critical thinking skills, evaluation skills. Education will still be an important a part of humanity, even with access to all the information, like through a Neuralink connection. So my team's saying education is going to be very, very important. Even extraterrestrials still go through a lot of education in their society, even with all the advanced technology, advanced knowledge they have. 6, Sterling, I have asked my guides to step forward many times out loud and spoke to them. I have not seen them. Why won't they reveal themselves, and how would they appear? I mean, not everyone is actually meant to see your guides. You can develop the skill. It's interesting. I've been around individuals that were trying to make that happen, and sometimes they'll successfully make it happen. It really scares them. So you have to be somewhat prepared, work the skill. I would tell everybody to, if you're starting off from scratch, work to develop the clairaudience skill first. That will start off as you start to develop the skill, will start off as rushes of thought, clear rushes of thought from your team, which then you can take that information, validate it. That's how you know it's not just you, it's coming from your guides and angels. As you develop a gift, you'll be able to hear discrete voices. The more you work on the gift, it's a mind muscle gift. You actually develop clairvoyance, be able to see. I think it's important that people work through the gift, work to develop the skill, and prepare yourself. It could be a little jarring if you're not used to seeing guides and angels. Now, when people are in times of great stress or under great duress, maybe their life's in danger or near-death experience, I find those times it's much easier to accept an angel coming to you. It's interesting, and you'll see those individuals during those times because they're kind of an in-between state. But normal walking around hours, people, it's pretty jarring if you're seeing guides and angels. You can work to develop the ability. So I would say build up to it. 5, my daughter and I have seen a short, overweight, dark figure in our home separately. When my daughter saw him in her room, it frightened her and she asked him to leave, and he did. I saw him in our hallway going towards the front door. My daughter also sees blue male energies and pink female energies in her room. Can you tell us who these spirits are? The dark, short figure looks to me like an individual that's familiar with that area. It's not your family, not directly connected with your family, familiar with that area, familiar with that environment. They have lived in that area or visited that area quite a bit. The other figures, those are family members. The pink and blue energies, I think they were calling out here, blue male energies, pink female energies. Those are relatives. Those are family relatives on the other side coming around in a loving way to show their presence. And I think she said, my daughter's seen overweight figure, right? A very typical, remember, children before the age probably of 8 or 9, up through the age of 8 or 9, can easily see the other side. But these are family members, so I'm being told, coming around in a benevolent way to visit you. Number 4 in the countdown, will CRISPR technology or any other modality be able to regrow an organ you've had to have removed, such as a gallbladder? If so, when? So 3D biometric printing technology, printing body parts, organs, that's already started. And I think they're asking whether CRISPR will help to regrow the organ inside the body. So as you go through the medical progression here, a lot of technology coming for 3D printing of organs or even limbs. Eventually, you're start to see regrowing of teeth. And as CRISPR technology moves along over the ensuing decades, there will be more CRISPR technology that will be devoted towards how do we then recreate an organ, or how do we repair a heart or a valve muscle. Many, many decades down the road, before I ever see anything happening like regrowing a liver, something of that nature, or parts of a liver, it's going to be an evolution here. But many, many decades down the road, I mean, you're talking 4 or 5 decades at least, before it looks like that inherent technology will be able to help regrow. Now, my team is saying before we get to the organ, it looks like there'll be technology to regrow certain limbs, like fingers, regrow a thumb, regrow an eye. second nature, but looks like more of the internal organs. It's going to be quite a bit longer. Number 3 in the countdown, Sterling and team. What will happen with the Project 2025 individuals who are planning on implementing radical conservative ideology and laws? Once Biden wins re-election in 2024, will they continue to push their agenda, and will they disappear? Well, they're going to continue to try to push the agenda. It's actually always been in the background, but they won't be successful. The momentum will stop, but they're going to try to push the agenda. So it'll be a very small element in society that will push these ideologies. They'll still be around, but it won't be successful. They'll lose a lot of momentum because they won't have the power throughout government. So it's still going to be an element around in society. Number 2 and number 1 on the countdown. I always take notes before we start off these shows, so I'll read them back to you here. Number 2, do you see anything coming up this week? Many more legal challenges from 45's team to stall, ask for stays, and in many cases, new charges coming. New movement from the Supreme Court on the immunity claims and starting to push back to lower courts. And we touched on that during the show. Number 1, do you have anything your guides want to share? Take time to center yourself and ground yourself on a daily basis to maintain better balance in all things. This can take the form of listening to a waterfall on a calm app, taking a walk, enjoying nature, and remembering why you are here. So on that note, that concludes the show being recorded for Sunday, February 25th, 2024. As always, if you need to reach me, go to sterlingpsychicmedium.com. Look for the Book a Session tab. I think there's dates available now in June and July, and maybe a couple opening in August. And very easy to see those from our online calendar. I'm also doing a show with Linda G., the Comanche Psychic, on Sunday, February 25th. You can find that show on Linda G's channel, the Comanche Psychic. So until we meet again, I'm going to send out a lot of goodwill and tremendous love to you and your families. Take care. I will see you all again very soon.